Hey everyone, Zeph Moses here, and I wanted to give you a quick update on some of the new equipment that just launched from Blackmagic Design. So we saw a launch of 3 new ATEM Constellations. These are the ATEM Constellation HD models, and let's go ahead and take a peek at just some of the features of the brand new ATEM Constellation HD. So introducing the ATEM Constellation HD, the world's most powerful HD live production switchers. These incredibly powerful HD switchers are available in 3 great models. So there is a 1ME, this is a 10 input model, there is a 2ME, and this model has 20 inputs, and then there is a 4ME model, which has 40 inputs. Now, each of them have SDI inputs, and all of the SDI inputs have standards converters. That means that you can scale the resolutions and frame rates on each of the individual SDI inputs. This was a feature that we saw released in the Blackmagic ATEM Mini series of switchers, and then we were kind of surprised that it hadn't been translated over to the higher end switchers. So here we are, we're finally seeing it now. And let's talk about the 3 different models. So the first model, this is the ATEM 1ME Constellation HD. This model can be rack mounted, and it would take up about 2/3 of a rack, so you could fit a HyperDeck or some other rack mounted device in there along with it. It's important to note that this particular model does not have the SuperSource feature. So if you're used to using the ATEM Mini Extreme and you like using your SuperSource, you're not going to get it until you upgrade to the ATEM 2ME Constellation HD. Then there's also the ATEM 4ME Constellation HD, and let's go ahead and take a look at the back of each of these devices. So, of course, the 1ME has 10 SDI inputs. The 2ME, you can see it's got double that. We have 20 SDI inputs. And then the ATEM 4ME has a whopping 40 SDI inputs on that. So let's go ahead and keep rolling down. Let's see what we can do with this. It's very typical of Blackmagic, the same sort of switching that we're used to in the past. There's a really nice front panel on each of these, and you finally have the ability to take a key, like a downstream keyer. So let's say you've got your lower thirds that are in place in the media pool. You can now take those from the actual unit itself without needing to use a control panel or needing to use a computer with the software control. So that's a really nice feature of these newer ATEM Constellation HDs. And of course, all of the inputs. So you can see them here. These are the 3 different models, but it's important to go over the outputs as well. You have up to 24 outputs on the 4ME model. And on the 2ME model, it looks like we have, I believe, 12 outputs. And then on the 1ME model, we have 6 SDI outputs. What's nice about this is that you get the ability to kind of route things wherever you want them to go. So if you needed to feed a projector, but you needed to feed a TV screen, something else, you've got all of these individual aux outputs. So you could feed PowerPoint slides to something while you could feed an iMag feed to another. So a very nice feature of these switchers. And then it's got USB webcam output. So very similar to the ATEM Mini lineup of switchers, you now have a USB-C port on the back of the device that allows you to take a USB-C cable directly into a computer, and you will get a compressed webcam feed at 1080 HD quality. So this is for if you're trying to go live into Zoom, if you're trying to go into Microsoft Teams or Skype or any of these applications. You can also go live into OBS, just like I'm doing right here in recording this video using that USB-C output. Now, there are some software control or hardware control panels that you can get to go along with these. They are pretty pricey. The prices are actually down here all the way, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page. So you do have the option to get a 1ME panel at about $3,000, 2ME at $6,000, and a whopping $18,000 for the 4ME panel. These are not something that you should take lightly, so these are very expensive panels that you would probably get included on a much higher end setup. So for those of you watching this video, if you're thinking about upgrading to maybe the ATEM Constellation HD or maybe getting the 2ME model, just know that you're not going to have a physical panel like you're used to with the ATEM Mini Pros, the ATEM Mini Extremes. You have to buy that panel separately. All you really have is access to this front set of buttons that you can see right back up here. So you can see here, this front set of buttons is all that you have access to because these are all made to be rack mounted. Again, the super source is not a feature that you'll get on the 1ME model, but you'll get it on the 2ME and the 4ME. There's a whole slew of multi-view layouts, and then you also got your typical transitions that we're seeing in all of the other ATEMs as well. Built-in DVE, so being able to do things like picture-in-picture, things of that nature. And then you've got the professional broadcast talkback feature. So if you've got a headset that you can plug into this, you can send talkback to your camera operators. It does support a 5-pin XLR headset connector, plus a rear-mounted RJ12 connector for industry standard talkback systems. Now, internal media, this is something that I wanted to talk about really quickly because if you use the ATEM Mini Pro or maybe even the ATEM Mini Extreme, one of the things that you might notice is that you may run out of space with the internal media pool because it only holds 20 still images. Well, now using the 1ME, you still have the 20 stills, but if you upgrade to the 2ME, you're going to have the ability to save 40 still images. So if you were running out of space for your lower thirds graphics, your full screen slides, things of that nature, you're going to get more space if you get the 2ME model. And then the 4ME can actually hold 60 stills. These also do animations. So you can hold a 200 frame animation on the 1ME, 400 frame animations on the 2ME, and then 600 frame animations for the 4ME model. Moving right along here, it includes the same advanced chroma keyers. So if you're trying to key out green screens, if you've got a virtual studio or a virtual set with multiple cameras, you have the ability to remove green screens, and you can see a lovely sample of that here. You can actually do some pretty neat stuff with these virtual sets. I haven't played as much with them, but I certainly would like to. Maybe if I get a bigger studio space, if I upgrade at some point, maybe I'll make a room where I've got a bigger green screen area, and then maybe we'll start to consider doing some green screen work like this. And then, of course, your powerful super source, so being able to do those quad boxes, being able to put up some beautiful graphics, definitely a nice change of pace from the older models of the ATEMs that were rack mounted. They did not have that super source feature. Video standards conversion, so I mentioned that a little bit earlier. So you're basically able to take everything from 720p at 60 frames all the way up to 1080p or I at 60 frames, and it will go ahead and convert your various frame rates and resolutions so that you can make sure that you can switch between multiple different cameras. Typically, we're keeping all of our cameras the same just out of habit, but if this is something that you might need, like if you're bringing in a computer or a laptop or something that might have a funky frame rate, maybe computers outputting 60 but you're streaming in 30, it's nice to just know that all of these inputs will have the ability to change that over to what you need to stream in. You've got the Fairlight audio mixer, so the same Fairlight audio that you've had included in the other ATEM switchers that you might be used to. Now, these obviously have many more channels based on the different inputs that you're getting, so it depends on if you have the 1ME, 2ME, or the 4ME. Obviously, you're going to have a lot more inputs. Comes with the same software control panel, so you can control your ATEM from the computer. And then we have the hardware panels further down below here. Pricing, let's talk pricing. The ATEM 1ME comes in at $995. The 2ME comes in at $1,695, and the 4ME comes in at $3,695. You can, of course, pay additional if you're interested in adding in these advanced panels. So to talk about just very quickly what I'm thinking when I see a release like this, it's very exciting that Blackmagic is releasing new equipment. For me personally, you might have seen that I made a prediction for the NABShow a couple videos back. My thinking was that they were maybe going to consider adding in some of the features that you have on the ATEM Mini Pro and ATEM Mini Extreme. I was really kind of hoping that we were going to see things like ISO recordings, so being able to plug in a solid state drive and record ISO video feeds to them. I was really hoping that maybe we would see a built-in encoder for these, and we did not see that pop up today. I was also hoping that we would see an update to the older ATEM TV Studio lineup. So as you might know, they do have a ATEM TV Studio panel, and that switcher, I'm going to bring it up here so you can see it. There is the ATEM Television Studio Pro HD and then the ATEM Television Studio Pro 4K. The 4K was a really nice feature to have, and since all of these new constellations are in HD, I was a bit surprised seeing that they're not going 4K on these, just to kind of future-proof them. And one thing about the Television Studio Pro HD, I really liked the idea that it had two model options. There was basically this rack mounted option, or there was this switcher and control panel as one combined unit. And the two models that they had were the first one where it was all SDI, but there was an HDMI output for multi-view. And then they also had an option, the HD option, where you could do 4 SDI inputs and 4 HDMI inputs. And I really liked that because we're often in our live streams incorporating computers, incorporating maybe Zoom virtual callers where we're taking HDMI. And so it's just a shame to see that there wasn't a new ATEM release with these constellations that included one of the options to at least go with 4 HDMI inputs and maybe 4 SDI inputs. We're also seeing that the multi-view output is no longer HDMI as it was here in this unit, and these had a 2 XLR audio inputs. We're now seeing 1/4 inch on the new ones. So some of my predictions definitely were a little bit off. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't see an update to this particular product here, but I think that they're going to give the option maybe later in the year, and hopefully we see one of these come out, maybe a 4K model, 4 HDMI inputs, 4 SDI inputs, scalars on each. Who knows? We'll see what we find, but thank you so much for watching this today, and if you want to get more updates and things on live streaming equipment, live streaming gear, live streaming advice, and tutorials, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you next time.